Hey, welcome back, Mr. Jorgens here, ready for part 2 of section 4.1 on slope intercept form. So grab a pencil and a sheet of paper, get ready. We're gonna have to do some calculations on this one. There will be a few questions for you along the way, so make sure you're paying attention. And let's get ready to do some math. Here we go. All right, so before we get into the kind of main part of this section, we're gonna have to remember one thing that we learned in chapter 3, and you should have learned in 8th grade as well. And that's how to calculate a slope between 2 points. So to calculate a slope between 2 points, we use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's take some time practicing this formula. Again, just to kind of set you up, if we're trying to do example 1 here, which is to find the slope between the point 17 and the point 31, I can kind of set that up. I know that for my first point, there's an x value of my first point and a y value of my first point. So x1 is 1, y1 is 7. And again, for my second point, I'm going to have an x value and a y value as well. So I have x of 0.2 is 3 and y of 0.2 is 1. So we're going to go ahead and plug those into the formula. Go ahead and plug those numbers into the formula, work out your answer. Again, this is a little bit of a review for us, and you can go ahead and enter your answer when you're ready. All right, so your setup should look something like that. 1 subtract 7, divide 3, subtract 1. And that's because my y1 is right here. So my y1 is 1. My y2 is 1. My y1 is 7. My x2 is 3. And my x1 is 1 here, right? So then I can go ahead and subtract, and divide. So 1 subtract 7 makes negative 6 in the top. 3 subtract 1 makes 2 in the bottom. And negative 6 divide 2 makes a negative 3 for our slope. So the slope between those first 2 points would be negative 3. All right, let's go ahead and practice the second one. I've got example 2 off to the right here. Find the slope between negative 1, 2 and 2, 4. Again, we're going to be using the same formula, right? So we're going to be plugging the numbers y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 into that formula there. So go ahead and label the points and then plug them in and enter your answer when you're ready. All right, so we take a look at the setup here. I have 4 subtract 2, so y2 4 minus y1 2. So 4 subtract 2 in the top, and 4 subtract 2 is going to make 2. And then in the bottom I have 2, which is my x2, subtract negative 1, which is my x1. So 2 subtract negative 1. Again, so if you ever have a minus a negative like this, it turns to a plus. So 2 plus 1 just makes 3. 2/3 as a fraction doesn't simplify at all, so I can just leave that as my answer. Slope is 2/3. All right, now we're going to take a look at the big type of problem from section 4.1. And it's to write the equation of a line through 2 points. So the next couple examples are all going to look like this. Find the equation of a line through, and then it's going to give you 2 points. In this case, let's use the points 1, negative 2 and 4, 10. Now, I know every time I want to write the equation of a line, I have one kind of structure right now that I can use for writing the equation of a line, and that's y equals mx plus b. And I know m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. And last time it was kind of easy to pull those out because they would directly give you m and b in the problem, but today they're not going to do that. So we're going to have to determine m and b from our points in order to do that. Now the good thing is we already know how to find the slope of a line. So we just kind of practiced that a few times, and that can be the first thing that I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and find my m. And the way I can find my m is by using my formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's why I spent a little bit of time reviewing that formula, just because it's going to come up a lot. And once we kind of have the setup, we should be able to just plug in the numbers. I know I have for my first point and my second point, so y2 is the y value of the second point, which would be 10. And subtract y1, which would be the y value of the first point, which is negative 2. And then x2 is the x value of the second point, which is 4. Subtract x1, the x value of the first point, which is 1. So I have 10 subtract negative 2. And again, we kind of just covered that. If you subtract a negative, that turns to a plus. So 10 plus 2 makes 12. 4 subtract 1 makes 3. and 12 divided by 3 makes 4. So I know my slope is going to be 4. So right here for my slope, I know I can plug in the number 4 into my equation. So I know it's going to be y equals 4x, and then I have to figure out this plus b part at the end. Now, the way I can figure out the plus b part at the end is I know that in my formula, y is equal to mx plus b. And what I can do is I can take the slope that I just found, which I know is 4 now, right? And I can take one of my points, x and y. So I'm going to take my first point, 1, -2, which means that x for that point is 1 and y for that point is -2. And I'm going to plug in those values. So -2 for y and 1 for x. And again, this is 4 times 1 plus b. And then I'm going to be able to solve this equation for b. So 4 times 1 makes 4 plus b equals -2. And if I want to solve it for b, I have an equation and I have to move that 4 to the opposite side of the line. And I can do that by subtracting 4 off of both sides. -2 subtract 4 by a plus minus chart. I know I have 2 negatives and 4 more negatives for a total of 6 negatives and no positives. So my b is equal to -6. And again, that's the value I'm going to be able to put into my equation here on the side for plus b. It's -6, so it's going to be 4x minus 6. So my equation line would be y equals 4x minus 6 on this one. All right, so let's take a look at another example. We're going to find the equation of the line through the points, this time 0, 1 and 2, -5. So in order to do this, I know I want y equals mx plus b. And just like last time, my first step is going to be to find the slope. And I can find the slope by using the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, just like I did in that kind of warm-up there. So go ahead, you should be working that out on a sheet of paper, plug in the values into that slope formula, calculate out the slope, and once you're ready to enter the slope, you can go ahead and enter your answer. All right, so we can take a look at this one. Plugged in y2 minus y1, which makes -5, subtract 1, which makes -6 on the top. And then x2 minus x1 makes 2, subtract 0, which is 2 in the bottom. -6 divide 2 makes a -3, which is our slope here. So I can go ahead and plug in -3 for x there. So I know it's going to be y equals -3x, and then something for my plus b part here on the end. Now if I want to go and find my plus b, I'm going to do that the same way as last time. And this is kind of the tricky part, so make sure you pay attention here. It's going to be y equals mx plus b, and I know that my m is -3 from that first slope calculation that you just did. And I get to pick an x and a y, so I can pick either point. I'm going to pick my first point here, which tells me that x is 0 and y is 1. So I can go ahead and plug those in. It'll be a times 0 as my x and a 1 for the y, plus b. This time -3 plus 0 is just 0, so it's kind of a little bit easier, right? Because 0 plus b is just b. So I'm automatically going to know that my value for b, the y-intercept, is 1. So I can go ahead and put that over there in my equation of plus 1, since it's a positive 1. And my formula is then y equals -3x plus 1. All right, let's try one last one before you can try the big ideas problem. So we're going to write the equation of the line through the points 0, 8 and 1, 5. Again, that means we're going to want to write y equals mx plus b. Our first step of that is going to be to find our slope. So I want you to start with that. M is going to be equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So go ahead and calculate that slope and enter your answer once you're ready. All right, so taking a look at that one, it would be 5 subtract 8 in the top, which is -3. 1 subtract 0 in the bottom, which is just 1. So -3 divided by 1 makes -3 as my slope here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. -3 is my m. So it would be y equals -3x. And then after I do that, I need to go ahead and find the y-intercept. Again, the setup for the y-intercept is I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. I know that my m is -3. And just picking a point, I'll say, let's pick the first one, x is 0 and y is 8. You should be able to plug those in and solve for b. So go ahead and use these three values right there to find b, and enter your answer for b, our y-intercept, when you're ready. So again, I had a 0, so that made it a little easier. If I plug in the values, I get 8 equals -3 times 0 plus b. Of course, this part, -3 times 0, is just 0. And so it'd be 0 plus 8 to make 8. So my b value here is 8. Just finishing off the problem, I can go ahead and plug that in for my b. And my equation of the line is y equals -3x plus 8. Hopefully you're ready to try the big ideas problems now for this section. So you should know everything that you need to know there. The big ideas are waiting for you online. Thanks for listening, and hope you had a good day.